Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're stepping into something really quite unique. It's a book that feels, well, less like a story you read and more like maybe a collection of echoes or reflections. We're diving into Cherie Ora's The Ones Who Saw Her. And it's not a book you just put down. It sort of lingers quietly. And our mission today, it isn't really to figure out the woman at the center of it all. We're not here to explain her. Instead, what we want to explore is what her presence, her stillness, what she reveals about us, about you listening, about the characters Ora writes about, and maybe those quieter parts of our own inner lives. It feels quite intimate.
It really does, and that's exactly the feeling we want to capture in this deep dive. It should feel reflective, a bit mysterious, lyrical even, just like the book itself. Because you're right, this isn't about analyzing a plot or a character arc in the usual way. It's more about sinking into this feeling, this sense of maybe unnamed longing, and looking at the huge impact a quiet person can have, not through big actions, but just by being there, authentically.
Okay, so let's get into that central idea, that paradox. Ora tells us right out the gate, this is not a book about her. This is a book about what she evokes. And then there's that line, she didn't ask to be remembered.
Yeah.
She was. It sets such a specific tone, doesn't it? It tells you immediately, okay, this isn't about understanding her actions. It's about feeling her effect.
Absolutely. And the way the book does this structurally is fascinating. It uses these vignettes, these short, sharp encounters, like snapshots almost. We never really get inside her head. No backstory, no inner monologue. Ora writes, she doesn't chase, doesn't explain, doesn't perform, and yet somehow every single person she encounters is changed, marked by it. So she ends up being defined or maybe reflected through other people's eyes and hearts, spinning around, as the book says, which just amplifies that almost mythic quality she has. She's like a mirror or a canvas.
Right, it's a canvas. And that's where it clicks, I think, for the reader. The author basically says, look, you don't need to get her to feel this book. You just need to be willing to see what she reveals about you.
Yeah.
It completely shifts the focus. Suddenly, it's not about her story. It's about the stories of those who saw her. Their reactions matter more.
And that makes you wonder, doesn't it? How can someone so subtle, so undefined, how can she be this catalyst for transformation in so many different people? She's less a character, maybe, and more, well, a catalyst. Like you said, a prompt for some really deep self-reflection. People see her, and suddenly they have to face their own stuff, their fears, their desires, the things they haven't dealt with, just by her existing in her own quiet way.
Yeah, her quiet way that somehow unsettles things. That's the word the book uses, unsettled.
Yeah.
Each vignette is described as a moment, a mirror where someone encountered a woman whose presence unsettled something unspoken in them.
Yeah.
And it's not always comfortable, that feeling. Sometimes it's like, recognition. Other times it's just a quiet disruption.
Yeah.
Leaves you thinking.
Exactly. And what's so interesting is seeing the patterns, the kind of archetypes that emerge in the people who meet her. Their encounters really shine a light on their own unfinished business, their longings, their grief, their projections. Like, take the man who is always in control, you know the type, used to running the show. But her truth, it's described as quiet, slightly sideways, and it knocks his whole frame off kilter. He feels exposed, like she saw the boy behind the man. What hits you about that one?
For me, it's that challenge to his idea of strength. Strength isn't about control anymore or getting people to see you a certain way. It's about presence, authenticity. He has to rethink what strength has always meant to him. It exposes that gap between the facade and maybe a deeper longing for something real.
Yes, that's it. Her quietness strips away his need for that performance, that control, and reveals something more vulnerable underneath. Or think about the woman who thought she had to shrink. She sees this other woman just taking up space, calmly, wearing soft fabric like armor. And she feels this wild, radiant calm from her. It's described beautifully, like she's already forgiven her for every time she ever disappeared herself.
Yeah.
I mean, the power in that, the liberation of just accepting yourself fully.
It's incredibly powerful. And it makes you think, doesn't it? How often we sort of shrink ourselves without realizing, and then you see someone just being fully in their space, and it gives you permission. Permission to straighten up, like the book says, not for attention, for alignment, just to exist fully. Okay, then there's the opposite almost. The skeptic who needed logic to feel safe. He needs everything rational, tidy, but she doesn't play by those rules. She'll say something like, not everything has to make sense to be true. And he wants to argue, but it hits him somewhere else. It aches not in the brain and the chest.
Yeah, that one really gets at the limits of just pure logic, pure rational thought. Her presence makes him feel something that his logic can't actually process or contain. He even writes her name down, just writes it, just to prove to himself that something could exist without needing to be explained. It's like this small act of surrender, accepting that some truths are felt, not just figured out.
And what about the one who tried to save her? That's a common trope, isn't it? He sees her depth, her quietness, and thinks, she must be broken, lonely, needs fixing. So he tries to rescue her, showers her with attention, solutions. But her response is just so grounded, so self-possessed. She tells him, I already made my life. You're just visiting it. Oof.
Right. It completely turns it back on him. What's revealed isn't her need, but his need to be the rescuer. He realizes she didn't need saving. She was complete, and the killer line. And he had only ever known how to love things that needed him to fix them.
Wow. That just highlights the profound weight of encountering someone who is already whole, how it can totally challenge your own patterns. It really can. Then there's the rebel who mistook peace for weakness. He's all about resistance, fighting against things. That's his identity. He expects her to push back, to argue, but she just listens.
Yeah.
Lets him rage. And then asks him so gently, what would you do with your fire if nothing needed burning down?
Oh, that's beautiful. It reframes peace entirely. It's not passive, not weak. It's an active state, maybe even a courageous one. He realizes he actually doesn't know how to be without something to push against. Her stillness feels threatening. She offers him this stillness, and it becomes something scarier than rebellion, peace. That's quite a journey, isn't it? From constant friction to just being still.
It really is. And finally, the creative who couldn't find her voice. With her, it wasn't like this woman gave her direct advice or inspiration. It was more subtle. A feeling, a reminder. Your voice isn't something you find. It's what remains when you stop trying to sound like anyone else. And that was the catalyst. It led the writer to finally put down the first sentence she didn't want to change.
It's that sense of permission again, isn't it? The release you feel when you stop performing, stop trying to be something else, understanding that your real voice isn't something you construct or find out there. It's what's left when you let go of all the noise. She didn't tell her what to write, just helped her find the space to write authentically.
And woven through all of these moments, you get these little glimpses, these echoes of her essence. Lines like, she didn't expand to be seen, she expanded because she remembered she could. That gives me chills. Or, she didn't stay, but she never left you either. That captures that lingering quality. And that incredible one, some women don't raise their voice, they just change the frequency of the room.
Wow.
Yeah.
It speaks volumes about that quiet power. And maybe this is a good moment to just pause and ask you, listening. As you hear about these different encounters, these archetypes, the controller, the shrinker, the skeptic, the saver, the rebel, the creative, does one resonate more strongly? Which mirror reflects something back to you about your own journey? Your own unspoken stuff?
Because we focus so much on her impact, on her as this mirror. But the book does give us this incredibly poignant glimpse of the woman herself. It's in vignette 14, the woman who never needed to be understood. And it talks about how even she, the one reflecting everyone else, is constantly reflected but rarely received. It really lands, doesn't it? The loneliness, perhaps, of being this enigmatic figure, seen but not really known.
Oh, absolutely. And the core of that vignette, for me, is her declaration. She's alone, writing, it says, for release. And she thinks, or maybe knows, I am not here to be desired, I am here to be whole. That line just carries so much weight, especially for someone who is constantly being interpreted, projected upon, maybe even romanticized or mythologized by others. It's this statement of radical self-acceptance, total self-possession. She owns herself completely, no apologies needed.
Exactly. It underlines that she was never trying to be unforgettable. That wasn't the goal. She was just trying to be honest with herself, with her presence. It wasn't a performance for anyone else. It was just her, being true to whatever that meant for her in that moment.
And that final image we get of her, writing alone, belonging halfway between this world and somewhere softer, it just perfectly seals that ethereal, almost mythic quality. She remains elusive, doesn't she? More than just a person in a story. She becomes this feeling, this enduring presence. It kind of confirms you can't just figure her out.
Which brings us right back to where we started, really. This deep dive into Cherie Ora's The Ones Who Saw Her. It's not about solving the mystery of who she is. It's a journey into understanding ourselves, prompted by her presence. The book really delivers on that promise, I think.
It absolutely does. And maybe that leaves us and you with the real question to sit with. Not just who is she really, but maybe the more powerful question is, who does she become in us? In the reader, what does she awaken?
So we really encourage you, find a copy of Cherie Ora's The Ones Who Saw Her. It's published by Compassion Hall. And when you read it, try not to go in needing to understand her. Just Be open. Be willing to see what reflects back. Let it be that reflective journey. You might be surprised what you see about yourself in its pages. Because maybe the most profound stories aren't just about who someone else is, but who we realize we are when we truly encounter them. Something to think about.